Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to give you an update on when the consulates and the embassies are going to reopen. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Ashoori and I'm a US immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles, California. At my law firm, we focus exclusively on immigration law and we regularly post videos to keep you up to date with what's happening in immigration. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now. So since March, when the COVID-19 pandemic took over, one of the questions that I've been getting asked most frequently is, when are the consulates and the embassies going to reopen? And I'm very happy that I'm officially able to give you an update on this subject. Now, on July 14th, just 2 days ago, the Department of State released an official announcement as to how and when the consulates and the embassies are going to reopen. And what this announcement states is that the consulates and the embassies are officially going to begin and have started to resume routine visa services in phases. So they're going to be resuming routine visa services in phases. Also, they're not going to state a particular time that applies to all consulates and embassies. They're going to let the consulates and the embassies determine what types of visas they're going to adjudicate and the frequency of how many of these visa appointments they're going to handle based on the local conditions. So now let's talk about what that means. So, as I mentioned, the consulates and the embassies are going to resume routine visa services in phases. As of right now, the consulates and the embassies are currently handling the services for US citizens, and they're handling emergency visa appointments. They're going to start now resuming more routine services, including non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas. And they're going to start off with student visas, such as the M1 visa, the F1 visa, and some J1 visas. They're also going to start resuming more urgent matters, so people that have more of an urgent need to travel to the United States. And they're also going to resume visa services for family members of US citizens. Now, an important point that I want to mention is that the announcement, by the way, I'm going to link to the announcement below, so you can definitely check that out. But the announcement also mentions that all of the visa services that are going to be handled are going to be in accordance with the presidential proclamations and the executive orders that have been signed. So, as many of you know, since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Trump has released a number of executive orders and proclamations which restrict certain types of immigration. Now, the announcement mentions that those restrictions are going to still be enforced when the consulates start to reopen. So that's an important point that I want to mention. Now, again, as I mentioned, the consulates and the embassies are going to reopen in phases. So they're going to start, like I mentioned, with some non-immigrant and immigrant visas, such as student visas, urgent travel, and family members of US citizens. And as the local conditions permit, and as it becomes safe to handle more types of services, they are going to expand the number of routine visa services that they make available. I want to now talk about what types of local conditions are the embassies and the consulates going to look for when they determine how they're going to reopen. So they're going to look at a number of different factors. They're going to look at the number of COVID-19 cases. They're going to look at the medical infrastructure of that particular location. For example, the number of hospitals, the hospital capacity, the sophistication of the hospitals and and the medical care in the area. They're going to look at the emergency response availability of the area. And they're also going to look at the local restrictions on people leaving their homes. So those are going to be some of the factors that the consulates and the embassies consider when they reopen. So now that you know how the consulates are going to reopen and what factors they're going to look at, I also want to talk about what steps the consulates and the embassies are taking to make sure that you're safe. So, the consulates and the embassies are going to reduce the number of visa appointments that they schedule at a particular time. They're also going to regularly sanitize areas that are heavily touched. And they're going to enforce mandatory physical distancing inside the consulates and the embassies. So those are some of the steps that they are going to take to protect you when you go for your routine visa appointments. Now, lastly, a very important point that I want to mention is that if you have an emergency need to travel to the United States, or if you have an emergency need to have your visa appointment, for whatever reason, the consulates and the embassies are still handling emergency visa appointments. So again, if you have some type of an emergency and you need to have an emergency visa appointment, the consulates and the embassies are still handling these types of appointments. And to see how to apply for an emergency visa appointment, you can check the local consulate or embassy's website. On the local consulate or embassy's website, there will be a section that instructs you on how to apply for an emergency visa appointment. So again, if you have any sort of an emergency need, go ahead and check out the local consulate or embassy's website for the section that explains and instructs on how to apply for an emergency visa appointment. So in this video, we talked about how and when the consulates are going to reopen. We talked about what factors they're going to look for when they decide how to reopen. We talked about what steps the consulates and the embassies are going to take to make sure that you are kept safe. And we also talked about getting emergency visa appointments. I hope you guys found this video extremely helpful. If you know anybody that could benefit from this information, definitely go ahead and share this video with them. Ultimately, we want to empower you with knowledge. So the more people that can see this video, that can benefit from this video, the better. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you have any questions whatsoever, drop them in the comments below. And again, if you haven't yet done so, make sure to subscribe to our channel. When you're subscribed, it's the best way to stay in touch with all the videos that we're posting. As always, thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I will see you on the next one.